Okay, hello everyone. Today we're going to discuss train test split in machine learning. We will have train test only and also validation included. So what is that train test split? Generally, train test split guy is used before everything almost. You will have pre-processing things, encoding, scaling things, also hyperparameter tuning, model selection, blah blah things. But before you do that, you have to have train set and test set split it. All right. So there's some couple of things inside of this guy, which is test size or train size. Despite the fact that we mostly use test size of something, but it doesn't matter. And by default, it is 0.25. So which means that 25% of your original data goes to test sites if you don't choose it, like if you don't assign it, and the another 75 goes to the train size. And yeah, that's it. Random state means that whenever you rerun the same thing, you're getting the same result, right? Random state, so it is random, right? But sorry about that. You're just assigning it to some value, like 11, 42. Most of the time, also it's some 42 or 42, blah blah things. But you have to assign it to some value. So every single time you run it, and you get the same result. Then also we have a shuffle and stratify. What is the shuffle? Shuffle again by default also it is true. Yeah, like it's assigned to true. It means like mix the rows randomly before splitting. You want to shuffle them, like it's like shuffling the cards. But stratify on the other hand, it means that keep the same class ratio in the training and testing as in the original target. So why they matter? They matter in some, if you have imbalanced data set, so it will matter. So you don't want to have just all of your train or test set, train set just assigned to one single variable, right? You don't want to all of them are goes to the, for example, in your fraud detection process project goes everything to the fraud detection, and it will learn everything by heart, and everything is good, but it performs very poor on the other thing. And shuffling again by default it is true, but you have to be very careful if you work with time series. If you work with time series, the order matters, right? So we better not to shuffle it. So what we are gonna do, we are gonna have a training set and 30% of, for example, test set. It's just the image, we're not gonna do 70-30, by the way. And we're gonna have 70 and this 30 divided half, like 15-15, and with between validation and test split. So before we just started, let me say the last thing about that theoretical thing. You don't have to have 90-20 or 80-20 or 90-10. And if the data set is big enough, right? If it has millions of rows, blah blah things, sometimes 95 and 5 is also good, and there might be the cases that 99 and 1 is also good. You don't want to use a bunch of rows for the test. Some little bit of the original data set is enough. So it really depends also. Those are not fixed values, right? So we definitely need train test guy from Scikit-Learn, and as you can see, it's already here. So what I'm gonna do from Scikit-Learn, learn. By the way, I do a lot of typos, so bear with me, please. Model selection, import, train, test, split. Okay. So we will have a two data set, and we will need them. We will need to read them, load them, blah blah things. So that's why I need to have pandas. Import pandas as PD. So rather than every single time write that pandas, blah blah. So yeah, we are good, I think. So the next step is just pandas read CSV, read my CSV file. And what is the name of this CSV file? It is student performance CSV. It has to be inside of the quotation marks, and that's it. So I will assign this guy to some data frame called df. All right, that's it. Yeah. So let's see what we have in df. df will show me the first 5 rows of this data set, while df.tail will show me df.tail will show me the last 5 rows of this. As you can see, since we are starting from 0 and ending at 99999, so we're gonna have probably 1,000 cases. Okay, and we can understand it is with df shape. Yeah, which shows us how many columns, how many rows, and how many columns we have. We have 15 columns, which is columns, right? So, and yeah, here we have those columns. That's right. So let's just quickly, let me walk through this data set. We have final exam result of some students, like it's a, and generally we're gonna predict or classify, mostly predict, I think. It looks like a regression analytics, but yeah, we can just easily turn it into the classification, whatever. Based on those features, we want to just predict like how much of score can they get in final exam, those students, right? And for example, their parental education and if their parents support them or not, uh, is even the lunch type is very related to the final result or not. Okay, so we have only one last step before we do train and test split. We need to have x and y. What is our x? We didn't assign it, right? So y is our target variable, and I'm going to assign the target variable, which was a student performance, I think. Or final exam, I think it was final exam, yeah. It is final exam, obviously. So for x, rather than choosing every single one of them, right, I will just drop whatever we don't need it, right? So df drop and the columns, and here we are not gonna need final exam, right? And in this specific data set, we have this student ID, and if you look at the student ID, it doesn't do anything, right? It's just ID randomly selected, randomly assigned to some of the guys. I mean all of them, but it does not affect anything. It doesn't have any pattern style for the final exam. Most of the time, IDs is removed or dropped. So that's why I'm gonna drop this one as well. I will write it as student ID. Okay, now we have x and y selected. Now it's time for train, test, split. So what I'm saying, hey, train, test, split. Here you have x and y. Y is final exam. X is anything other than final exam and student ID. So x is gender, school type, parental education, support, lunch type, blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying that random state is 11. Just make sure, just do that. And I'm saying that test size is going to be 0.2, for example. No, 0.1, for example. The test size is 0.51, so which means that train size is going to be 0.9, right? And based on those things, take those considerations and assign those things to x train, x test. Order matters, so be careful with that. X train and y train and y test. So it is xx, yy, and train test. Okay. So that's it, nothing crazy. So when you do that now, x train dot head, it is now chosen values for training set. Chosen. So if you wanna know how much we have, you gotta go with shape, and we'll have 900. Why it is? Because in the original we had 1000, right? Where is that? Yeah, 1015. But here we have 900 and also 13. The reason for that, because we basically chose 0.1 for test size, which means 0.9 goes to training, which is 90%. 90% for 1000 becomes 900. And since we did drop two values in training, so which is, as you can see, we don't have customer ID, not customer ID, student ID. We don't also have the final grade. We don't have them. That's why they're not 15 anymore, but they are 13. So how about we have x test and head and yeah. Okay, typo. And yeah, we have again similar things, but they are less. To confirm they are less, I will write them as with shape, and we just confirmed it It's just 100. Of course, the column numbers are just staying there. How about, I think, did we do all of them? Y-train, that shape. Okay, Y-train has 900. So what is this 900, guys, just represent? Y-train, shape, not shape actually. They're all final exam. They're all final exam. And how about Y-test? They're 100. And how about Y-test, but with yeah. Again, final exam that we are not going to touch, we're not going to use it, but they are just only 100 of them. So that was all about training and test. How about train validation test split? So in most of the explanations in AIs or in YouTube videos, and I do like this interpretation of train validation and test split, which is, so train is like you're just you're preparing for the exam. You have some materials, some banks, so you just read from them. Preparations, perhaps all of those things. Validation is not final exam, but it's a mock or practice exam. So I think it's much better if you just take some practice exam before you're taking the final exam. Especially in some exams, you get to pay for it, in most of them, right? And have like really big amount of money. So maybe it will have been a right choice, logical choice, just go into the validation, the practical exam, mock exam. So that's what I mean the validation set. In which order we are gonna do it, okay, that's a different thing. That is a really different thing. But what are we gonna do? We have a now new data set. New data set, and I'm gonna read it as DFE. I'm gonna just write it. So PD read CSV and has to have employee performance dot CSV. Okay, so let's see what's going on with this guy. And we have some employee IDs, probably we'll be dropping it as well. Some department that these employees are going from, at their education level. Are they working hybrid or on-site? Did they complete it? Did they complete the training or not? And how about their manager support? And experience years, of course, there's going to be very much of a difference between 1.5 years experience and 9 and 4. And some other numerical values as well. Okay, let's see what's going on. So we need to see what we have as shape, and I think that's still same 1,000 rows. And how about those columns? Those columns, employee ID, blah blah things, all of those guys. And okay, so I will choose this performance score as a final target value for us, and the other guys will be chosen as future. Of course, we're going to remove this employee ID. So you're going to have X, and we're going to have Y. When I said X, is going to be TF that employee performance score, score has to be in quotation marks. What kind of performance? Yeah. All right, that's it. So for X, the DFE data frame for this specific data set, drop. Okay, drop. Let's see what it is dropping. Drop this performance score because it's going to be used as a target variable, and also employee ID because it doesn't affect anything, right? So let's run it. So something happened. Performance score. We don't have it. Let me find out. Yeah, we're not supposed to have. DF is related to the previous project that we did. So in that case, we are using DFU. All right. So that's it. And let's go now. I think we are ready for training, testing, validation split. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my 100% of data. I'm going to give 90% to train. I will take this 10%. And then in the second step, I will take this 10% and divide it into validation and test 50-50. All right.
That's what I'm gonna do. So I will have 90, 5, and 5. 90 goes, let me just write in the text format, 90 for training, and another 10 for test and validation. Test plus validation. So 10 becomes 5 for validation and 5 for test, right? So in total, again, that sums up to 100. And now let's see how we will do. So firstly, we will take this 90 training and assign this remaining 10 to as a temporary data set, right? And then we will take that temporary and split it again. The same method that we did earlier. That's it. So let's quickly do it. It's not going to be quick. Maybe train, test, split again. We have it. I'm going to say that, hey, we have x and y. And we also have test size or train size, whatever you just want to have it. Train size is going to equal 0.9, right? So random state is going to be, I don't know, 13. And we will have x train, right? Now x validation, no, temporary thing. This temporary currently is just 10% of our data. It's not just only test or validation, it's a combination of that, right? So y train and y temporary as well. That's right. Yeah. I did some mistake. Let me just find my mistake over here. X train 1 temp, X train display train. Oh yeah, oh my god, what is that? Train size. Oh yeah. Alright, so now we're gonna do again train test split. Alright. So you see this autocorrection, but we're not gonna use that. Because now I'm taking this X temp, temporary, and Y temporary guys, and also test size. What did I say? Test size has to be now between validation and test set has to be 50-50, so 0.5. And random state is going to be certainly whatever. So now I will take X validation and X test and Y validation, Y underscore validation, and Y test. Let me just check everything if everything is right, so we can go ahead and we should be good to go. Yep, it seems so. So what we have it, we have X train, we have X test, we have also X validation, right? So X train is over here, whatever chosen, and X test is also here. As you can see, we don't have ID, I think. Yeah, we don't have it. See, just removed it as well. So in validation set, that has to be same. Nothing else, like everything is almost looks similar here, but as you know, they are already shuffled. We don't go from 877 to 878, so they are shuffled. So how about seeing the shape of those guys, right? So what are we gonna do before? I just scrolled too much, but hopefully we're not doing doom scrolling. So X train we did. How about Y train? Real quick performance score. And Y test also would show that, but with some other, amount of the data is inside of this guy is different. Also, Y validation is going to be here. I'm just writing for the sake of writing the code for now. But now it's time to see the shape. Like shape will show us everything. X train dot shape, and we will have also X test shape. And we also gonna have X validation dot shape, right? That's it. Okay, so before we just go it, we did have 90 So we had total of 1,000, so we assigned 90, so that's why 900 goes to train. And we did remove 2 guys, or 1 guys only. We had 13 columns and we removed 1 of them, that's why we have 12. And test and this validation, we did a remaining 100, and 50-50 means 50% here, oh my god, and 50% here as well. That's it. And you can have validation, no, test by train shape, or same thing by test shape, like that. Okay, 50, and y validation shape. Okay, that's also 50. There is not anything because it's just only 1 guy, so you can see it y validation dot head. Alrighty, so you see it's only just performance score. That's it. Okay, that's it for today, and thanks for watching for this video. And I'm planning to adding another videos related, pre-processing, scaling, and encoder things, standard scaler, blah blah guys, and also planning to add some information on hyperparameter tuning, cross validation, in the GitHub of this Scikit-Learn. This train test split is inside the cross-validation methods. There's a bunch of cross-validations. It can be understood as one fold cross-validation, right? So, and yep, see you soon in the next videos.